Hey everyone, for today's One Piece TCG video, we're going to be looking at the leader of the Heart Pirates, Trafalgar Law. We're going to want to use the most of our allies' abilities in order to search for different crewmates in order to use their abilities in order to dominate the field. Once we have the field at max capacity, we want to use our Devil Fruit powers in order to switch out for those heavy hitters to dominate the game. With that being said, let's make some room as we head into surgery with Trafalgar Law. Law's leader ability is, with 5 characters on the field and paying 2 Dawn, you can return 1 character from the field to your hand and play another character of the opposite color to the field. For example, if you returned a red character to your hand, you can play a green character to the field. You must play a character of 5 cost or less. Law also has 5,000 power and 4 life. His leader ability will be more relevant as we see later on in the deck list. Now let's take a look at staple cards. First up is the 5 cost character, Law, with blocker and 6,000 power. It also has an on-play ability, which you can return 1 character to your hand and play another character to the field of 3 cost or less. By using your leader's ability, you can return a red card to your hand in order to play this card and get another character on the field as well. You can essentially get 2 characters on the field for 2 Dawn. This character will become key to play further characters in this deck. Next up is the 5 cost Rush Luffy with 6,000 power, and when you attach 2 Dawn, your opponent cannot activate blockers. This character is also important as it hits that 5 cost threshold, being able to be played at 2 with our leader Law's ability. Being able to play this Luffy for less than half its cost and potentially getting a non-blocker attack, you can storm the field very quickly. The next staple character is the 3 cost Zoro. This character has 5,000 power and on play has Rush. This is another important character because it can be played with both the character and leader Law's ability. When it comes onto the field, we can attack right away. So we can get this character out very quickly for less than its cost and able to attack our opponent's life directly. By using these cards strategically, we can definitely deal some early damage as well as control the mid game and have a strong grip on the field. Another staple card, this one more defensive, is the 3 cost Killer. With 3,000 power and an on-play ability, you get to KO one of your opponent's 3 cost or less rested characters. Once again, this character can be theoretically played for less than its main cost, but it also has a trigger ability, where you can play it directly from your life as well. This allows you to control your opponent's side of the field, especially if you're playing against a very aggressive deck. Next up is our first support card. This one is the 1 cost Nami, where we can look at the top 5 cards of our deck and pick a Straw Hat card from among them. With this, we can choose cards like the Rush Luffy as well as the 3 cost Zoro in order to be able to maintain that early to late game attack. We can also get other characters out on the field in order to get that 5 character capacity we need in order to activate our leader's ability. The next support character we're going to be looking at is Jewelry Bonney. With 1 cost and activate main, you can rest 1 Dawn and this character in order to search the top 5 cards of your deck for a Supernova character and put that into your hand. Much like the Nami card before, we're going to use this to search for our powerhouses as well as other cards we can use to populate the field in order to activate our leader's ability. With these 2 support cards, we can cycle through our deck very quickly in order to get the appropriate cards we need in order to maintain the control of the game. Next up is our defense. We're going to talk about the 1 cost Capone Bege. This character here can be played at any point during the game, and we can also use this to not only populate our field very quickly, but also block any attacks from an aggressive opponent. You're going to want to play 1 cost blockers in this deck in order to do both. Protect yourself as well as to make sure you can get your leader's ability ready to go. With that being said, let's move on to our next 1 cost blocker. That is the 1 cost Tony Chopper. With 1,000 power, much like Capone Bege, this blocker does the exact same thing. We can use this to defend our characters as well as leader, as well as to populate our field in order to activate our leader's ability. These blockers can be vulnerable though to other characters' attacks as well as abilities, so be careful. Next up is the 2 cost Killer. This character has 2,000 power as well as a counter, and it has the blocker ability. With 1 Dawn attached, and when on block, if you have 3 or more characters on the field, you can draw 1 card. This is important because we're going to want to use this card first, most likely, in order to block to get that hand advantage from drawing cards, as well as we're most likely going to have a lot of cards out on the field to use our leader's ability. So keep that in mind. Next up is some more support cards that necessarily aren't staples, but are good to have. First is the 5-cost Law. With 4,000 power and on play, you get to unrest a Heart, Pirate, or Supernova card and get it ready to attack again. This can be used once again with our leader's ability, as well as we can play it right from our hand. Even if we don't use his ability or attack, we can even use him for the counter, so it does not take up extra deck space. The next support card we're going to look at is the 1-cost Otama. This card here has 0 power, but on play, you get to give one of your opponent's characters minus 2,000. This is important because we can play this card to add characters to the field, and then we can successfully bounce the card back to our hand with our leader's ability. We can then give the minus 2,000 power to one of our opponent's rested characters and attack with a character such as Rush Zoro, and potentially get the attack to be successful with the minus attack power. This means we can use this card effectively, returning it to our hand and being able to use the counter, as well as use it again potentially on the next turn. Next up is the only event card that I recommend running in this deck at this time, and that is Paradise Waterfall. This card for 1 cost, you get to give one of your characters plus 2,000 power with counter, as well as you get to set one of your characters to active. It does also have a trigger where you get to KO one of your opponent's rested characters of 4 cost or less. However, it's important to make sure that we can defend ourselves, but we're going to want to make sure we play more characters than event cards. That's why I only run this one. Next up is the 3-cost Eustass Kid. I choose to run this card in this deck over Yamato, and the reason for this is because we can cheat him onto the field, and he does require 2 Dawn to activate this ability, but when you do attach that Dawn, it does mean that you're most likely going to be going for your opponent's leader, or you will be swinging for an attack against a 5,000 character. Now let's take a look at how many I'm running of each card in this deck. First off, let's look at the staples. I'm going to be running 4 of the 5-cost Laws that you can use to return a card to your hand and play another one. Then I also run 4 of the 3-cost Zoros and 4 of the Luffys. These are our heavy hitters in this deck, and these are the ones we're going to want to get out on the field, typically with our leader's ability. Next up, let's take a look at the support. I'm going to run 4 Namis, as well as 4 Jewelry Bonnies. This covers the search we need to find the appropriate cards in our deck. Next up is some 1-cost cards that we need to populate our field, as well as blocker effects. So I run 4 of Tony Chopper, as well as 4 of Capone Bege. This means the likelihood of drawing these cards is high, as well as we get some defense and some cards out on the field. The next support card I run is 4 of the 3-cost Killer. This is so that way we can KO any of those early game characters from our opponent's side of the field. For other support, I do run the other 5-cost Law, and I do run them at 4 as well, just in case we do need to do some multiple attacks, and I do run the Blocker Killer as well, just so we can get that additional draw power. And I do run 4 of the Otamas as well, that way if we are playing against any heavy hitters, we can reduce their attack and swing in for some heavy damage on their characters. And then like I said, I do run Eustass Kid, but I only run them at 2, as it's not the winning condition, but it does come in handy. Last but not least is the event cards. I run 4 of Paradise Waterfalls, just because the trigger effect is strong and it can come in handy to play this counter ability during your opponent's turn. Now, we've seen the cards and we know what they do, but how do you play them successfully? Let's assume we have some cards out on the field as well as our leader, and we want to get a strong character out on the field using our leader's ability. First off, you're going to want to populate your field with characters. So let's assume this is late game, we have a ton of Dawn already, and you already have some characters all on the field. For simplicity, let's use 2 Choppers, 2 Capone Bege, and 1 5-cost Luffy. Let's assume we already played Luffy last turn, and we're going to go in for an attack, whether or not it's on a character or leader. From there, we're going to use our leader's ability, rest 2 Dawn, because we have 5 characters out on the field, and we have to play a green character because we're returning a red character to our hand. So we play the 5-cost Law, returning another character to our hand, and then we're going to play another character. In this case, it's Rush Zoro. Not only do we have another character to attack with, in this case, Rush Zoro, but we also saved our Rush Luffy, and we can potentially play him again. In this case, we rest 5 Dawn, trash Chopper, play Rush Luffy, and attack again. We can get multiple attacks off in a turn with Rush characters if we plan strategically. That's the first strategy. Let's move on to the next. Let's take a look to see how we can use our 5-cost Law successfully. You might not know when to use them or what situations to work with, but let's assume we're playing up against an aggressive opponent. So first off, we have our leader, and our opponent attacked us with a 3-cost Zoro. What you're going to want to do is rest 5 Dawn, Play your 5-cost leader Law, returning another character to your hand, and then play another card. In this case, 3-cost Killer for free, KOing your opponent's Zoro. I did make the mistake during filming not to return a character to hand, but make sure you do that during your play. If we had 3 characters out on the field, or 5 at that time, we could have used our leader's ability in order to play the 5-cost Law, doing the same thing. Keep in mind, our leader Law's ability can be used for both defensive as well as offensive capabilities. Next, let's make the assumption your opponent has a heavy hitter, say for example, a 6,000 cost character that's rested. We have our 4 characters out on the field, in this case 2 choppers, and we have 2 Capone Beges. What we're going to want to do in this scenario is rest 1, and we're going to play Otama, targeting the 6,000 character, bringing its total value down to 4,000. From there, what we're going to do is rest 2 more Dawn, returning Otama to our hand to play our character Law, returning another character with our character Law's ability in order to play the 3-cost Zoro, and we can then attack that character that has the 4,000 attack. These combos are great because you can use these cards to your advantage and return them to your hand, making them not easy targets for your opponent to get rid of. Next up, let's take a look at what could be in your opening hand. For this, you're going to want the Jewelry Bonney as well as Nami. This takes care of your searching ability to find those cards you need. Next up, you want the 5-cost Law in order to return a character and play another one from your hand. Finally, from there, you can get any combination of potentially a 1-cost blocker, or you can get, for example, a 3-cost Killer to play some defensive, or a Rush Zoro so that way you can play offensive. Those last 2 cards really don't matter, it's mainly those first 3 that you're looking for. Once again, thank you so much everyone for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more character decks as well as different types of deck lists, please leave a comment down below on what you would like to see. Maybe there's something you would change about this deck list. If you would, please leave a comment down below. Thanks again for watching.